just going to go over some current election numbers.
Okay, take us through.
So, Senate races.
And this is as of 8 p.m. on Thursday evening.
Yes, so that was 1 minute ago.
I mean, I'm just going by like somebody watches this later.
Yeah, 1 minute ago as of November 10th. So, key races, which we pointed out a while ago. Pennsylvania has, of course, already been called, which is unfortunate.
Well, that's given.
Georgia is going to have a runoff.
Okay, before you go into that, Stephen.
Yep.
How many Senate seats are we at total?
Currently, right now, it is 49 for the Republicans and 48 for the Democrats.
And that's counting the Alaska seat, because Alaska it's not declared, but it's going to be a Republican. So just so you guys know, we're at 48 to 49 seats.
Mathematically guaranteeing the yeah. So
that's a given. Now there are how many seats are open right now for Senate?
There are 3 remaining.
Okay, which are they?
So there's Nevada, there's Arizona, and there's Georgia.
Okay, so that means that we have Georgia is going to be decided in
a runoff, which will be decided early December.
Now, who is the runoff going to favor, Chief Stephen?
I think that Walker is probably going to be favored because, of course, the Libertarian Party will be taken out of contention.
Mm-hmm.
And Libertarians would more likely choose Republican than choose Democrat.
Mm-hmm. However, a lot of people have been saying that walk-off or runoff elections tend to favor Democrats a little more. So we'll see how that plays out.
It depends on like whether the voters return.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brian Kemp, of course, did bring a lot of ballots to Walker.
Yeah.
So it's just dependent on, okay, are these people going to show up? Then again, like I'm sure Warnock would get some support from Stacey Abrams supporters. There was a meme I saw of somebody who was just like people taking down their Stacey Abrams signs again. It's just like, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
But yeah, so like, there's a couple of factors to remember. Like, number one, Walker is not a great candidate.
No,
like,
he's not.
Like everyone admits he's not a great candidate. Maybe he's well spoken in public, but he has a
troubled history, and it's coming back to haunt him.
He's a flawed candidate, kind of like Mehmet Oz. Okay, now or Mehmet Oz, whatever his name is. So take that into account. That he's not a great candidate, so he doesn't have a lot of that appeal. Yeah. 2, not going to have Kemp and the excitement of the 22 election to behind him. He's going to have to bank entirely
on his own support,
on people being willing to vote for him entirely. So that'll be interesting. And then what was the last thing? 3, that like runoff elections tend to favor Democrats generally. Yeah. A lot of conservatives are kind of on the fence as to whether or not he can pull it off. The big advantage that he has is he'll probably get most of the Libertarian votes. But that's also as whether the
are they going to be encouraged enough to actually show up? Maybe.
Exactly. So we'll see.
Like most Libertarians or like modern liberals that I know, like classical liberals that I know, would much rather have the Republicans than the Democrats. Mm-hmm. Just like people in Canada who would support the PPC or the Christian Heritage Party would much rather have the Conservatives than the Liberals. They're not huge fans of either, but they'll take the Conservatives over the Liberals. That being said, the 2 main races in the Senate that are still up for grabs that have not determined what the end result will be are Arizona and Nevada. So we're going to start with Arizona. Actually, we're going to start with Nevada because then we're going to jump into Arizona. Yeah. Sure. So, Senate race in Nevada, Adam Lexalt, I believe it is. And I don't know who I don't know the first name of Cortez Masto.
But that's the incumbent.
That's it's the incumbent Democrat. Lexalt is winning by 13,000 votes, give or take.
By almost 2%.
I love how none of these candidates in Nevada is actually like is an option. Is like a write-in that 10,000 people did. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I got 10,000 votes.
10,000 it's like other candidates. It's like, all right. It's like none of these candidates.
10,000 candidates will give you such a crick in the neck.
Yeah. So
So Nevada's
it is of course possible that Nevada could go to a runoff as well.
Do they do runoffs? I haven't heard that.
Like, as far as I know, in the Senate, you need to have over 50.
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Nevada. If you actually like an article from the Hill that you can kind of go into, because they talk a little bit about the Nevada race. So they say it's on a nice edge.
So Democrats feel that a favorable political environment for Republicans, coupled with an ever-present issue inflation, would thwart Senator Catherine Cortez Masto's chances of re-election. But the mood has shifted as ballots counted in the counties appear poised to help the senator close the gap with her GOP rival. Republicans, meanwhile, remain bullish that Laxalt will eke it a win. Both parties are now playing the waiting game. Let's just do the finder or run off. It says only... Yeah, it's only mentioned once in the article. It's mentioned about the Georgia runoff.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm guessing that I don't know. I mean, like we said, every state has different rules. I know we just talked. You and I talked about how Alaska does not have a runoff, which for like particularly the House, which means that the Democratic candidate is probably going to like walk off with that election. But I don't know. Like I have not heard anything about Nevada potentially being
okay. Hang on here. So these are the 10 states that conduct runoffs if there's no candidate which reaches the thresholds for victory. Okay. Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, and Vermont. So most of those are, of course, clear Republican.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why Georgia's the only one that really gets a runoff election.
So those are the only ones that do runoffs?
Yeah, those are the only ones that do runoffs. I thought it was just all Senate races.
No, I guess not. So I guess that means Nevada is going to be...
Nevada is...
the most.
Yeah. So right now it's favoring Laxalt. There's still 16% of the vote coming in.
Mm-hmm.
It angers me to no end that we're 2 days in and we're still missing 16% of the vote.
Well, the thing here, let's just kind of put this out there. It is pretty inexcusable that you can't vote. You can't count votes on time. I mean, first of all, it's not a given. It is absolutely doable because like Florida demonstrated that they can get their results in really quick.
Yep.
And that's a much bigger state with a lot more people.
Florida has so many more people than Arizona, so many more people than almost all these states. Actually, more than some of them. Like, I think Florida has more of a population than Nevada and Arizona combined.
Yeah.
And yet they can count their ballots 5 times as fast. Yeah.
So the problem isn't that you can't just say these are unexpected problems. No, these are problems
that continue to happen.
The systems themselves, whoever's running these elections, has not fixed the issues. And so the issue is not that, unexpected problems, unexpected things. The issue is that there are some serious incompetence.
Mm-hmm. Serious incompetence, or, of course, like something we have to even tentatively bring up is what's going to happen. Like, if you are in Arizona and Nevada, like, get some sort of rotation going and be vigilant watching those ballot stations.
Yeah.
Because the Democrats, let's be honest, they will do whatever it takes.
Well, this is the thing. You and I went to university. They take all sorts of measures to try to prevent any attempts at cheating.
Yep.
That's what they do in university. When I went to university, they have your exam packet. They take all sorts of things. You have to
you're spaced like 5 feet from each other.
Yeah. You have to provide a very specific detail so that you can't have someone else taking your test. Yeah. They have like all sorts of ways to prevent it, right? Why? Is it because it's impossible to cheat? No, of course not. Everyone knows it's possible. It's possible to cheat anything from your taxes, from tests at school to elections, anything like that. And so the point isn't whether or not cheating could happen. That's always a guarantee. The question is, are the measures that you have to prevent cheating, are they good and are they working? And that's really a fair question to ask, right? So obviously, with what happened, Arizona was kind of like a big focal point in this election because they suddenly had all sorts of very unexpected problems with the or anomalies with the voting systems. Now, you could just say like, "Oh, this is unexpected. Nobody planned for this." I'm like, "Well, no." Okay, so the anomalies are there's some patterns that you have to take into account. One, why do these problems seem to always happen in Republican districts? If this was a generic problem,
well, and let's quickly talk about Arizona.
Sure, go for it.
So before we break down the Arizona issues, Kelly and Masters. Kelly is leading now by a fairly significant margin, over 100,000 ballots.
Yeah.
So my guess is that Kelly's probably going to win.
Well, here's the thing too, though. So Carrie Lake, she's been in a couple interviews, including on Steven Crowder. She's very familiar with most of these things. Carrie Lake right now, I've looked at various polls, and every single poll they keep saying that their opponent, I forget her name, Hobbs or Dobb, Hobbs.
Yeah.
That she's every poll that I've seen says Hobbs is leading.
Yeah.
And Lake was saying like that's not accurate at all. She hasn't been leading. She said that she hasn't been leading in just about any race. That's a lot of manipulated polling and things that they're throwing out there. So Carrie Lake really right now is in the lead, and like we said, because she said it on the show, and the Gateway pundit even showed it, that mathematically, Carrie Lake can't lose.
Yeah.
Right now, there's no mathematical path. Like it's like how like in sports you watch hockey, there's mathematical elimination.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's absolutely no
chance that they can get the amount of points required to get into the playoffs.
Yes, and that happens in sports. That also happens in voting, where mathematically you can possibly do it. Right now, majority of the remaining votes to be counted, they know where they're from. They know what kind of voters and what kind of voting it was, and they can pretty comfortably predict how what kind of breakdown the votes will take. Yeah. So right now, like it's almost a guarantee. Carrie Lake's theory is that they're slow rolling, which means that they know that they're going to lose, but they're intentionally delaying the counting in order to kind of to basically deflate the momentum.
Yeah.
Right. Which is plausible. I will say that is very plausible. There are people who are, just bad actors. And so I would not be shocked by that.
Yep. So that was, and then of course, following up with what's happening in Arizona, election officials in Maricopa County are addressing the ballot issues amongst Carrie Lake, Blake Masters' lawsuit. So essentially what happened is they claim that dozens of polling stations in Republican areas in Maricopa County. Carrie Lake actually visited several polling stations in more Democratic regions of Maricopa County, and none of them had this issue.
Which I will say, you're not crazy for noticing that.
Yeah,
that is absolutely a reasonable. Be like, that's weird. Why is it only Republican?
Really, well, like it's clearly election interference. If anybody finds even a smidgen of intentional wrongdoing on their part.
Yeah.
Because I know from the videos that I was watching on election day, in the Republican districts, the lines were out the door and around the block. And in the Democrat districts, they could go in and vote in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like, not everybody has the time. If they're just doing it on their lunch break, if they're just doing it here or there, not everyone has the time to stand in line for 2 hours and vote.
Yeah.
Like if they run out of if dozens of stations ran out of paper ballots, that's probably
Mm-hmm.
impacting several thousand votes,
Mm-hmm.
and most of them Republican.
Yeah, and to be fair, like I love how Steven Crowder says it. You don't have to have these like incredibly sophisticated methods to try to affect the vote. Like just simple things can really have massive impacts.
Mm-hmm.
If you have like 20% of the votes, voters like being told
Well,
it's going to be
yeah.
several hours.
Well, this
that
says
can
that
impact a lot of
like
votes.
just the printer issue was about 17,000 ballots that it addressed.
And that's basically the election right there.
Oh, that
In a
like
large
that
state.
is the election, and like that is almost double the perceived and apparent real numbers of how much Biden beat Trump by in Arizona.
Mhm.
Like these are things you have to keep an eye on. And oh yeah, the election officials, we plan to get to the bottom of it. Yeah, I'm sure you do. But you'll plan to get to the bottom of it after the race is called. And then you'll say, well, there was no evidence of wrongdoing. It was just like a generalized mistake.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, we don't believe you for half a second.
Well, the way that people the media likes to say is like oh my gosh, you're spreading distrust in our institutions. The question you should always ask when people say that is, do our institutions deserve trust? Because this is the kind of stuff that really, like, when they tell you you and your conspiracy theory. I'm like, if you want people to trust your elections, you need to deal with stuff like this. People are like, for good reason, have a lot of distrust of the media, of the government, and a lot of people who are are getting away with a lot of stuff. So naturally, people are going to be very skeptical. If you want to earn people's trust, you need to fix these problems. One thing that I that was interesting in this whole Arizona race is there's a very serious problem in the fact that Katie Hobbs is the Attorney General, which means that she is responsible and ultimately the last word in a lot of these voter issues. That is a gigantic. I didn't actually know that until recently. I was like, that is a huge conflict of interest. You're basically the quote unquote judge on an election that you're a part of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened there. I heard myself. Heard myself. But that shouldn't be a problem. That shouldn't be a thing. That should not. You should not be able to be the arbiter on an election that you yourself are part of. So it's that really made me like think like, okay, that's not okay. And then we're seeing these problems, and combine that with the fact that she's in charge, combine that with the fact that this has happened before, combine that with the fact that Maricopa County already has a very seriously tarnished reputation for like various anomalies in the previous election. This is a gigantic guy. So Carrie Lake is right. But the ultimate thing here, whatever. I don't know what you're laughing at, but I'm just going to keep. The last
Conquerworm has decided to appeal to me to try and get you to turn your mic around properly.
I thought it is right.
No, he says the logo is supposed to be painting towards you, and he like showed me this audio graph, and it's why that's important.
Okay.
So fix your crap.
I thought I had it right because it's vertical.
Oh, you
and
are.
I thought, like that?
Oh yeah, you're much clearer now.
Oh, okay. I thought it actually worked both
have to
ways.
like lower your volume because I had you like boosted.
Well,
because you were much lower. But yeah, now I'm gonna have to put you down.
I am loud.
Not kill you though. Not yet. That comes later.
Not completely.
That comes later. But
all right,
as we were saying, like the fact that this is a continual problem in these communities is something that we hope that if the GOP takes the Senate, and well, if they take the Senate by just a slim margin, and if they take the House, which is possible, and the only House races which I really know anything about is the Colorado 3rd District, in which Lauren Boebert is leading slightly.
That's a big one.
It's a big one because Lauren Boebert is a very prominent Republican.
She was not supposed to lose.
No,
she was not supposed to lose. She was supposed to be a guarantee, which is a big deal. Can I say one thing really quick about the House races as a general oversight? A lot of people were predicting anywhere between like 50 seats, like majority, all the way down to like a couple less. The thing is that a lot of the major gains in seats, amazingly, were in Florida, where like they said like there's no Democratic what was it? No Democratic pickup at all in Florida. They said that they had like no representatives on one show I saw. The Senate is gone in Florida. That must have been recently then. But yeah, like so. No, sorry. Those are the ones that I think were there before that were not up for re-election. I think.
I'm just looking at like some of them, like most of the ones in which the Democrat won are the only one that wasn't an incumbent. It's the 23rd district, and I think that's just because the incumbent resigned. But I think the incumbent probably was a Democrat, so no actual pickups.
So yeah, so basically, like in Florida, the Republicans like dominated. So like they got like several seats, and in New York, where who was the guy that was running against Hochul? Lee Zeldin.
Yep.
Lee Zeldin gave up his seat, his congressional seat, and because of his great campaign, he actually managed to get a whole bunch of seats for New York Republicans. So you combine New York with Florida and their seats that they got for the party, that is just about half, if not around half of all the seats that the GOP picked up from the previous amount. That's a massive, that's a massive, good on New York, good on Florida, but that's a massive black eye unfortunately for the people in everywhere else that should have gotten all these like big time wins, right?
Yes.
So GOP, the House is going to go Republican. That's a guarantee. The question is how big the majority is going to be. It's probably not going to be that big. But one of the trade-offs of that is that obviously the Freedom Caucus is going to have a lot more say in those races. In the Senate, I'm guessing I'm going to predict. I think that the GOP will probably get 51 seats because I really do believe that Nevada will go.
I think it'll go for the Republicans.
Yeah, and I don't have a lot of faith that Georgia will go Republican, but I think Arizona has a good chance because Carrie Lake basically said that she's very confident that Blake Masters will probably pull it off, and I'm gonna go with that. I'm a little more confident in Carrie Lake's take than in Georgia. So Arizona's going to be the place where we're going to win the 51st seat.
All right. I think that they have I'm less confident of their outcome in Arizona, but it could go other way. I'm fairly confident that Carrie Lake will win, but
no, that's a guarantee. That's a mathematical guarantee.
Like
the only way that she wouldn't win is if there's something wholly
totally fair and free.
Yeah,
things that would happen that would make Carrie Lake lose.
That would totally be on the level.
Yeah. But to finish out our conversation about the midterm elections, so we did talk briefly about Lauren Boebert and how she has just recently taken lead. I remember, it is absolutely unbelievable how close this race is. Like it's spread out quite a bit recently, but when I checked yesterday, I was like the gap between Boebert and Frisch was like 70 votes. I was like, this is insane.
It was 64 at one point.
That's absolutely nuts.
They tried to get her to concede early before, and like thank goodness she didn't because
you don't concede until all the ballots and all of the lawsuits are settled.
Yeah.
Because right now, of course, like we did mention that they're having lawsuits in Arizona.
Yeah, they should.
But that doesn't stop MSNBC. So MSNBC yucks it over a crude cheap shot at Lauren Boebert. Her loss will be a gain for OnlyFans.
Yeah, so it's really terrible.
Yeah, really
Anyways,
inappropriate. So of course,
go and
yeah.
you have the video there. See if you can play it.
Yes, the readout clip.
Ugh.
So this is, yeah, just watch the video. It's
so I'm optimistic. Even if it matters, even if control matters in Georgia, I still think we have the stronger hand in Georgia because you know what we have? We have a much better candidate.
Yeah. Well, the next guest that we're going to have on, Kurt, is going to be Mr. Frisch, who is running very well in a very tight race against Lauren Boebert. What's the meaning if Lauren Boebert, the second most popular QAnon congressperson in MAGA, what if she goes? What if she loses? And what job will she have? Because I don't even think shooters exist anymore. I don't think shooters exist anymore. What, maybe?
Well, I guess it might be a gain for OnlyFans. I don't know what she would do in this scenario, but I think that
look at the face of the lady on the left.
To take out one of the poster childs of the MAGA movement, someone who has been an absolute disgrace to the office that she holds, would be a great feather in the cap and would, I think, cement the fact that this has been an absolute unmitigated disaster for the MAGA wing of the Republic.
Okay. I seriously think that one thing for this idiot is the fact that he keeps using like the term MAGA Republican as like some kind of like as some sort of like an insult. I'm like, you guys are basically communist Democrats.
Yeah.
Okay, you're just as bad. If like, okay, no, they're not just as bad. There's nothing wrong with MAGA. They've created a boogeyman that doesn't exist. But communist Democrats, they do exist, and they are legitimately evil people. But did you see the look of that lady on the left? Did you see that, Steven? She was shocked. She was like, she couldn't believe he said that. He's like, what? Like,
well, yeah, some Democrats are shocked by the behavior of their colleagues. Oh no.
Gosh.
Just like some Republicans sometimes can be shocked by the behavior of other Republicans. It happens. It's less common amongst Republicans because Republicans do less crazy things. But speaking of crazy things,